All right, guys. So, Foolish Sports coming to you with another video. I know sporadically I've been doing videos, but you know, I'll try to be more consistent as time goes on. Moving into a new country, learning the customs of that country, getting situated in that country is not. I wish it was just like, easy does it. But inshallah, I will get where I need to get to in terms of having like a complete setup, a complete studio, things like that. That's actually what I'm working on. Is like a studio setup, so I can have more or less probably a couple of TV screen or a few monitors in terms of doing more work with. Sorry, outside is the sorry outside is a darn ambulance or something. But what I wanted to talk about in this video, because this seems to be a discussion so much, um, the old bag versus the new bag in terms of NBA dynamics. Now, I love combat sports. Okay, I'm a big time fan of wrestling. Of course, I'm a big time fan of boxing. That's what this channel started as. Is a boxing channel, and it very much still is a boxing channel. And yes, I MMA has grown on me as well. I'm not gonna lie, it's grown on me. But if I had to choose two foundational things, it would be boxing and wrestling as my favorite. But in addition to those, I'm also a diehard football fan. And what I mean by football, I mean world football. I do not mean um, the American football. I am very much into basketball as well. As a matter of fact, quite as is kept, when I was in my younger days, I used to play basketball. I used to play travel ball. Due to my height, about 187 centimeters, I was a point guard, of course, um, but could jump out and still can jump out the building. That's one of the things that I was blessed with, being able to jump out the building. But I'm the type that looks at everything when it comes to basketball. And the conversation, this happens to be the conversation now that we're having. We're talking about the bag, okay? We're talking about today's NBA bag compared with yesterday's NBA bag. And the thing is this: I don't think it's very hard to compare yesterday's bag with today's bag, because yesterday's bag, there was less space, okay? You had less space to do things. So you may have like one, two, boom, and then you're to the basket. Or you may have at most one, two, three, boom, and then you're either shooting or you're driving to the basket. Versus today's game, you have all the space in the world. So it can be one, two, three, four, five sometimes. Okay? So it's very hard to compare the two. Okay, because in terms of skill, when you look at guys like Jordan, when you look at guys like Kobe, when you look at guys like one of my personal favorites, Hakeem Olajuwon. When you look at guys like let's say um, Joe Johnson, when you look at guys like let's say um, let's include Paul Pierce in there. Let's include KG. Let's include T Mac in there. I mean, I guess you can include Vince Carter in there, but to be honest with you, Vince Carter. I'm gonna be real. He's known more for his dunking than anything else, but he did have some fantastic dunks, especially the one where he jumped over the dude. Like the dude was like 7 feet and he just jumped over him or something like that. It was during the Olympics, I remember. But when you look at the players that I just named, right? They had no choice but to they had no choice but to have counters ready. Okay, you were dealing with you were dealing in an era where the defense would not let you breathe. Okay, you didn't have space like that. Okay, um, that's the whole thing about it. So you had to do in the game, of course, because there wasn't that much space. Of course, the game was going to be more physical. Everybody understood this. Um, but right, today's game is more spacious, which means that you have more space to be creative. Okay, so when you look at today's game, and I'm not saying this in any bad way, shape, or form, but when you look at today's game versus yesterday's game, people yesterday were um, people yesterday were creative out of necessity, out of need. Today's game, people are just creative for the sake of being creative. In a lot of ways, because the thing is, the defense, the defense in today's game, like most of the defense capitalizes off of mistakes, really, versus man-to-man defense. You hardly have man-to-man defense, and because you know you have continuation type moves like the James Harden move that he does, and people call it travel. Yes, back in the day it would be considered a travel, but in today's game it's not that. So today's game is a lot of small ball. Um, the thing is this, right? When it comes to like even today's big man, you really are not going to see a big man who is going to be post heavy as you would have seen in the previous generation. Even when you look at Giannis Antetokounmpo, and me personally, I wish Giannis. This is just my personal wish for Giannis. My personal wish for Giannis is that he develop his bag even more. That's just my personal wish. I wish that he would like get some footwork, some more footwork. Because if he did get more footwork, it would save him a little bit of wear and tear. If he did he does have a little bit of a mid range jumper. Um, the release needs to be quicker, though. That's the problem. That's the whole thing. The release of that jumper needs to be quicker. If it was quicker, he would be more dangerous. The thing is, it's kind of slow. But if you look at the big men, of today's era, like Jokic, if you look at, Giannis, even if you look at Bam Adebayo, most of the time they're spending time away from the rim more than they are spending time inside the post. Okay, so you have to understand that this is credited to space. Okay, this is credited to space. Um, and another thing too is because games in the NBA today, I'm gonna be honest, games in the NBA today are very, very high scoring. Okay, I don't credit that to a lack of defense. What I credit it to is just um, playing away from the rim. More people play away from the rim than and play outside the post more than many people have done before. Um, but but you have certain podcasters. Some of them say, back in the NBA, they didn't have a bag. It was just physicality. You have certain people who have that narrative, but then me, I go back and look. But when I like watch Michael Jordan, when I watch Hakeem Olajuwon, when I watch, I want to say watch Paul Pierce, watch Iverson, watch these guys. I see that this is a false thing. Watching Kobe, it's just that their bag was a little bit different because there was less space. That's the whole thing. There was less space, so they had to just do they had to just do quick moves. That's the thing. They had to be just decisive. Whereas today, I'm gonna be honest, they really don't have to be as decisive as they did in the past. They really don't. I'm just being honest. Um, so I mean, maybe I'll continue to make more videos on NBA and things like that. But I will say that I'm still a fan of the game of today's game. I'm a fan of today's game, but I appreciate yesterday's game as well. That's the thing. I appreciate both games. I appreciate that more often than not, big men are not just being in the post. I appreciate these things. I really do. So with that being said, you guys leave your thoughts and leave your comments about this issue. Do you agree that back in the day they didn't have the bag versus today? Let me know in the comment section. Fuller signing out, and Jarama.